Hello everyone. In today's video I want to investigate which configuration would give you the maximum output of a quad witchshot seed. So I'm using the seed of the SciCraft server and I built up 4 witch farms. So let's start with the witch farm that I used. So I'm using a modified version of gnembon's skeleton witch farm. As he showed in his last video, both videos will be linked in the description. Using skeletons makes a witch farm 100% efficient. The reason is that entities can now spawn inside of other entities, so a spawning witch would no longer occupy one of the spawning spots. And by shooting them out with arrows, that's better than having moving blocks, because the moving blocks will either turn into block 36 where mobs can spawn on, or block the spawning space. So what I'm doing different compared to gnembon's original farm is using 9 skeletons per layer, and this has the advantage that they would shoot off the witches faster. Because with 4 witchshot farms you would fill up the mob cap in about 10 to 15 seconds, and it's really important to get rid of the witches as fast as possible. If you wouldn't put the skeletons into minecarts, then there's a chance that it would shoot each other if they were just standing, even if you separate them with doors, for example. Yeah, and Treefork suggested to use the minecarts instead, now so you can align them perfectly and they wouldn't shoot each other. Also, there was a suggestion by Helvins to use scars for the lowest layer, because they're slightly faster to push them off, and a lot of skeletons that also require the iron golems and the arrows, they create lag. So another thing that's important with the quad witchshot farm is to create as few lag as possible, and that's why I'm just using 2 ghasts at the bottom here. So as I have said, those skeleton witch farms are 100% efficient, or technically just 99.99%, because there's a super small chance that 70 witches would spawn within a second and fill up the mob cap, and if the skeletons don't shoot them off fast enough, then the mob cap would be filled, but that's probably never gonna happen. So let's turn this farm on. It's gonna push the golems closer to the skeletons, which makes them shoot more frequently. Now there's only a stray arrow here and there, and turns off the lights. Okay, lag spike. So you can see they start shooting, and this was something that enemy's friend told me about, that the skeleton's aim depends on the difficulty. So if you would set the difficulty to easy, they shoot really badly, and in normal mode a little bit better, but it's really only reliable that you don't get any arrow stuck on hard mode. So this farm works best on hard mode. Also on normal and easy mode there's a chance they would shoot through 5 water blocks, so that's why I had to add a 6th water block if you would use this farm, for example, in normal mode. But in hard mode, 5 of those water layers are enough, and then also 2 of those sand entities are enough to delete the arrows. So here the trick with the sand entities on top of fences was discovered by Galia. He showed that you can also recover an arrow that is shot by a non-infinity bow. So and arrows that are shot by either skeletons or infinity bow, they just get deleted, which is obviously quite useful, because the arrows take a minute to despawn and they're all entities, and having hundreds of entities is just bad for the lag. So in normal and easy difficulty you would need to add 1 more sand entity to also get reliably rid of those. But since I'm planning to use this farm only in hard mode, and sanities also cause lag if you have a lot of them, I kept it at 2 rows. So and in normal and easy difficulties you need a 6 water block which is not necessary on hard difficulty, and this has the advantage that the golem stands slightly too far away. That's why I have to push him with pistons to get them in the reach of the skeletons, which has a nice side effect. So if I retract the piston again, I translocate the golems to the back. They glitch inside the pistons and out of the reach, so this is a nice way to turn this farm on and off, and one of the many uses of translocators. Just for the record, another way to disable the farm, the skeletons to be precise, would be to push a glass block inside their head. So this causes also them to no longer track the golem. Another possibility. And the witch spawning is disabled by the light. So this is a bug in 1.9 that the gas don't appear to move, but they actually do, just it's not rendered client side. So as you saw, the witches get pushed off by the seemingly non-moving ghasts, and the witches are shot out very fast. Also, to make it clear, the setup of 9 skeletons is mostly interesting for a quad witch hut farm. It doesn't make too much sense to use that many skeletons if you only have a single witch hut. Then the 4-5 skeletons that gnembons used are enough. So I only do this to get rid of the mobs as fast as possible, so I don't get in any trouble with the mob cap. So this is just a side note, thanks to gnembon's discovery that entities no longer prevent other entity spawning, except boats. You could adjust the timings for the upward shifting floor slime block farm to make it more efficient. So I adjusted the timing to find an equilibrium between shifting floors that push upwards and don't allow mobs to spawn on them, and witches that prevent other witches from spawning. But since witches no longer prevent other witches from spawning, I adjusted the timings. So in case you use this farm and want to kill them with falling damage, then the best timing would be to raise the floors every 26 seconds, so there's a super low chance that the mob cap would be filled up in those 26 seconds, and it's inside the 30-second no despawn time frame. And this way you can reach an efficiency of 98% with this concept. So this just 2% less than the skeleton concept, and it's a little easier to build. You don't have to capture any skeletons and don't have to give them punch 2 bows. Okay, let's get back to the quad witch hut farm setup. And my first idea was to send all the witches to the nether, so this way they wouldn't block the mob cap, and you could kill 200 or 300 witches at once with potions. And in theory this works quite nicely. So in 1.9 it's now possible to make the chunks in a nether entity loading. This wasn't possible in 1.8. And also a nice feature of those nether portals, which are otherwise badly coded. As you saw, if you send an entity to the other dimension, the game freezes for 2 seconds because it searches for 1 million blocks. If you send several mobs from the overworld within a certain time frame, then it doesn't do that search more often. So if you want to know more about that, Nasm made a nice video about it a while ago. I also link it in the video description. So you don't get frequent lag spikes if you just keep sending witches through the nether. So I'm here in the nether. All the witches that I sent through from the 4 witch hut farms all land up in the same portal at the bottom here. And to make the chunk entity loading from the overworld, all you gotta do is set up this hopper grid. So I tried this myself, the exact same setup a few times in 1.8 and didn't work, but Mojang apparently fixed the bug, and in 1.9 it does work now. So I think the first one that discovered that was Race Works. So yeah, just works now. And but there's a slight problem in the latest snapshot. So my idea was to send the witches through this portal, push them out with a ghast, and then they are collected with those pistons, and you have to wait 1 minute before you can send them back to the overworld. So keep them in this holding cell for a minute, and then send them back to the overworld. So when I built this was in 1.9.2, and a lot of entities would cause a lot of collisions, which were quite laggy, so this concept was just too laggy. But in the latest snapshot that got fixed, and yeah, it's no longer that laggy, but there's another problem in the latest snapshot. So entities that are sent from the overworld to the nether and are kept there, they just disappear. So the witches I sent through earlier, they're all gone. And this then happened in 1.9.2, but it does in the latest snapshot. Also, if I stay in the overworld all the time, so I have a command block counter here that keeps track of all the witches, they somehow disappear and they don't leave any drops or anything. So this concept just doesn't work at the moment. It may work at a different time, but at the moment it doesn't work. So in 1.9.2 it would work, and then every about 70 seconds about 250 witches are sent from the nether to the overworld again, while they're just standing below there, AFKing. And yeah, that also gives a lag spike for about 2 seconds. And it also has disadvantage that for 5 to 10 seconds the mob cap is filled, so no new mobs can spawn, but the advantage would have been that you can kill 250 witches at once with with 2 potions. So if this concept would work at a later time, so if the witches don't disappear in the nether for some reason, this concept would even be more interesting if you only have a single witch hut. So you could keep piling up about 300 to 400 witches in the nether and just send them back to the overworld every 6 or 7 minutes, and then kill them in the overworld with the looting effect, for example. Just stand here and like in my looting 3 single witch hut farm, do the same. So this is really more interesting for a single witch hut farm. So because the nether portal concept had some flaws, I returned to the translocator concept and connected 4 witch huts to the middle, to the AFK spot. So you would transport all the witches from all the farms within 7 or 8 seconds to the player's AFK spot. So we have the first skeletons and ghasts that push the witches off. They land on hay bales with carpet on top, so they take less fall damage. Then they are compacted by those pistons here. I guess I can turn the farm on to see it. So the witches get transported. Yeah, and they're compacted with those pistons, so I translocate them, push them here, translocate them again, push, and so on. And then they're in a 1x1 spot, and then transported to the middle. I also tried to make the translocating setup as lag-friendly as possible. And for that reason I made this concept here that I showed a while ago together with Ragu, where the updating piston is the translocating piston for the zero-tick generator, and also use comparators instead of repeaters here to send the signal. So I only have signal strength 2, because redstone dust, as it depowers, causes for every step separate block updates. So if it depowers, for example, from 15 to 14, it causes a lot of block updates, and then from 14 to 13 again, and with a lower signal strength, if the redstone dust, you cause less lag, hopefully. I'm not so sure if maybe a tripwire concept would be even better, like I did a while ago. So the witches would activate tripwire, and that would cause a zero tick. Maybe we would have to do some testing, but I guess this is the best you can do with the sand zero tick gen. And here they join up the signal. Also with the transfer to the upwards elevator, it's all happens within 1 game tick. So after this piston translocates, the next game tick this already grabs the witches, and the same at the top, just to make it as fast as possible. And then they land in the middle here, and this block retracts, and the falling witch will be killed by potions. So I guess let's turn this farm on. I have to fill up my inventory, and also did some changes to the killing. So game at 0. So the main change was that I no longer use lava, but it has a slight disadvantage that I have to use 2 potions now to kill them reliably. But it still works, and then I put my sword into the item frame, and this way I can AFK. And as you see, they come in with a lot higher frequency, so they come in every 7 seconds. Okay, let's do one more, and then let's turn the farm off again. So because you use 2 potions now, you would need about 800 potions power. But since they only drop healing potions, you can use them. And if you make a brewing system, the only ingredient you would have to add on your own is brown mushrooms. So I guess this would be easier than to use the lava and use a single potion. I didn't build up the brewing system, just cloned this full chest of harming potions each time, so that's some work still left to do. But yeah, I've built up so many brewing systems in the past, just was tired of it. And yeah, so on the right side you can also see the test results I got. Also did a 1 hour test before to get about 60,000 drops per hour. Yeah, gnembon did really nice testings over several simulated weeks, and it seems like the maximum amount of witches that can generate per witch hut is something like 3,110. So if you also take the drops into account, the rare drops, so that the potions that there are also drops, you get it with 11.5% possibility. Then the maximum possible is about 63,000 something drops per hour, so you're really close with this setup to the maximum possible amount. Had some slight TPS issues, but I guess a better system could handle that. So as I said, there's a 11.5% chance with the looting 3 effect that the witch drops a healing potion with 12,000 witches per hour. That's more than 1,000 potions per hour. So that's enough to supply you with enough healing potions to brew all the harming potions you will need to kill the new witches. How ironic. And the difference between the maximum theoretical limit and the actual drops per hour that you get can be explained that some of the witches take a little more damage from the arrows, if they maybe twice, and they don't heal up in time before they take the fall damage again, so they die without the looting 3 effect. And some of the witches also somehow aren't killed by the potions. I guess they start drinking the potion when they're up there, because they still have some damage left. And while I throw the potions at them, they drink the healing potion, so they're not killed, so I have to kill them with this solid block here. And also the mob cap is sometimes reached with this setup that I don't think can be made significantly faster. Okay, I hope you found this video somewhat interesting, and if you're planning to build a witch farm or even a quad witch farm, then this video might be a guideline what's important to make it as efficient as possible, if that is your goal. Have a good day and goodbye.